Makeup and special effects can make anyone look beautiful, even your mum. But they can also make beautiful people look like literal monsters. Also like your mum. Oh, come on, you've got to use that take.
Did you know Thanos is a stunner under that wrinkled chin and eggplant complexion? How about his horned warrior disciple Proxima Midnight, played by the beautiful Carrie Coon? The MCU's villain roster is full of 10s just like them. Here are the Marvel movie villains who are gorgeous in real life. To become Thanos, the Mad Titan for Avengers Infinity War, Josh Brolin had to sport a motion capture suit, while the character's violet visage was added in by the visual effects team. Certain parts of the actor's appearance did make it through to the big screen, like the shape of his eyes, nose, and mouth. However, unlike Thanos, Brolin doesn't have a gigantic chin, a bald head, purple skin, or a ridiculously imposing stature. There were actually a lot of moviegoers who found the existence-snapping alien to be attractive, but Thanos can't hold a candle to the actor who portrays him when it comes to his hunk factor. Brolin has traditionally handsome features like a square jaw and healthy bone structure. He's usually known for playing gritty characters, but he was also the romantic lead alongside Kate Winslet in Labor Day. As monstrous as she was in Thor Ragnarok, there was no denying that Hela, the goddess of death, was working it with that goth getup. She even made those giant antlers look good when she strolled into Asgard to claim her place on the throne and destroy anyone who stood in her way. However, she's got nothing on the actress who portrayed her, Cate Blanchett. The Oscar winner usually sports a blonde bob and has very fair features and strong cheekbones. Altogether, she is one striking human being. Her beauty has been helpful in landing her both film roles and brand ambassador gigs. Speaking about her approach to beauty, she told The Cut, "I just try to look the best I can at whatever age I am." Fans would be forgiven for not recognizing Lee Pace underneath all the blue and black facial makeup he wore to become Ronan, the accuser for Guardians of the Galaxy. The Golden Globe-nominated actor's mug was thoroughly concealed by those thick cosmetics. On top of that, his costume was fitted with a cloaking headpiece and bulky armor that allowed him to completely disappear into the role of the Kree warrior. It's not the first time the actor has been rendered unrecognizable in a major movie role. In 2003's Soldier's Girl, he suited up in women's clothing to become the showgirl Calpurnia. He also covered up his signature shaggy brown do and ordinary human ears with a white blonde wig and elf points for Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy. His turn as Thanos' dubious deputy, however, was arguably the role that made him look the least like himself on screen. Shortly before Carrie Coon joined Thanos' goon squad for Avengers Infinity War, the actress was riding a career high. She was coming off back-to-back celebrated small-screen roles in HBO's The Leftovers and Fargo Season 3, the latter of which earned her a Primetime Emmy nomination. It was quite a surprise then when Coon was chosen to make her MCU debut as Proxima Midnight, a part which largely covered up her increasingly famous face. Coon's role was shot using voiceover and motion capture technology of her facial expressions so that animators could then add in the character's gray skin, navy eye mask effect, blue hair, and horns in post. The actress later admitted that completing the work felt lonelier than what she was used to doing, but she's since made light of how unidentifiable she is on screen. On Twitter, she joked, "To be fair, my face is in there somewhere." Danish actor Mads Mikkelsen had a really big year in 2016. Coming off his beloved TV turn as the title cannibal psychiatrist in Hannibal, he starred in 2 franchise films back-to-back, Doctor Strange and Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. The latter would allow him to appear mostly true to his real-life form, but to become Caecilius for the MCU, he had to submit to some serious makeup that created a purple and gray raccoon mask effect to signify his allegiance to Dormammu in the Dark Dimension. If that didn't undermine his rugged good looks quite enough, there was also the matter of his long, faux silver ponytail that aged him up quite a bit. In reality, though, Mikkelsen is indelibly easy on the eyes and was even chosen to model for several of Marco Polo's fashion campaigns. In other words, while the actor is more than happy to keep suiting up for whatever villainous roles the Western world has to offer him, he could just as easily pass for the handsome hero. Becoming Aisha, the Golden High Priestess of the Sovereign in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was no easy feat for Elizabeth Debicki. To achieve the look of being completely made of gold, the actress had to submit to a very unusual makeup regimen. She told comicbook.com, "They built a sort of car wash where I sat. There was a lot of paint and a lot of sitting around and drying. It's quite an intimate process." Although she looked like a living trophy as a result of this transformation, the actress is more like a runway supermodel in real life. Fans have gotten to see her in more realistic form in films like The Great Gatsby, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Everest, and The Cloverfield Paradox. Her statuesque silhouette and arrestingly beautiful face had audiences especially captivated during her starring role in the spy miniseries The Night Manager alongside Loki himself, Tom Hiddleston.
They may cause death, destruction, and all kinds of general mayhem on film, but these big screen baddies happen to be real lookers in real life. When she won the part of Captain Phasma in Star Wars The Force Awakens, Gwendolyn Christie made history as the first on-screen female Star Wars villain, although the only way you'd know it is by her voice. In fact, she never takes off her helmet once in the whole movie and is only briefly glimpsed during The Last Jedi. But there was good reason for that. Christie told Moms in Charge, "I was actually lucky enough to be given a couture suit, so the armor was made to fit my dimensions exactly. I just loved that we maintained the practicality of what she was wearing. You put this armor on and you feel rigid and uncompromising." The 6'3" actress and model rose to fame playing Brienne of Tarth on Game of Thrones, flying the flag for taller women. She told Rolling Stone, "Occasionally I get messages from women saying that I've brought them some joy, and that's unbelievably thrilling." Ralph Fiennes almost turned down the chance to play Lord Voldemort in the Harry Potter films, only finally agreeing to take the role after his sister convinced him it was worth his while. It's a good thing she did, too, since his performance might well be one of the most underrated villainous turns in Hollywood history.
The boy who lived, come to die.
After seeing the final installment in the long-running franchise, veteran film critic Emmanuel Levy said, "The endlessly versatile Ralph Fiennes gives an astonishing, multi-nuanced performance as the Dark Lord, one that, with some justice, should earn him a Supporting Actor Oscar nomination." Maybe it isn't such a surprise that the Academy failed to recognize Fiennes for his performance as Voldemort, considering he was pretty much unrecognizable in the role. This is thanks largely to the stellar work of makeup artist Mark Coulier, who made the normally handsome Fiennes look nothing less than terrifying. Voldemort's slit-like nose was created digitally, but Coulier did as much as he could practically, creating eyebrow blockers and temporary vein tattoos for Fiennes. In a 2016 interview with Bustle, Coulier recalled, "It worked really well. We covered his whole head in veins in about 10 minutes." Australian actor Eric Bana is probably best known for starring as Bruce Banner in Ang Lee's botched attempt at bringing the Hulk to the big screen. But he's been working quietly and steadily in Hollywood ever since. Bana followed 2003's Hulk with appearances in films like the historical epic Troy and Steven Spielberg's Munich. After the release of 2009's Star Trek, some fans believe his Nero to be one of the greatest Trek villains of all time.
Fire everything!
But many people simply didn't know that it was him underneath all that Romulan makeup. Luckily, he doesn't seem to mind. Speaking to HuffPost in 2013, Bana said, "I still get people today who just saw Star Trek and had no idea. Someone just told me yesterday, 'You're in Star Trek, and when it came out I had no idea it was you.' That's a huge kick. No, I love that." George Lucas's Star Wars prequels have always been divisive, but they did at least give us one of the saga's most memorable villains, Darth Maul. Introduced in 1999's The Phantom Menace, Maul's physical performer, Ray Park, trained for 15 hours a day to get his martial arts skills up to scratch for the role. But it wasn't until he had the full makeup on that he felt truly ready. At Star Wars Celebration 2015, Park said, "The look of Darth Maul the Sith Lord I think was cool. I think with the makeup and the horns and the lenses and the teeth, you just can't help being naughty, you know?"
You've heard of Freddy Krueger, but would you recognize actor Robert Englund if you passed him in the street? He's not a bad-looking dude, much easier on the eyes than old Freddy. In fact, the actors who play some horror movie villains are actually gorgeous in real life. It was supposed to kickstart an all-new cinematic universe, but 2017's The Mummy unraveled pretty quickly. It got off on the right foot when Sofia Boutella was introduced as Princess Amunet, but in the end, this reboot simply wasn't as fun as the 1999 Brendan Fraser version. Part of the problem may have been the lack of the Mummy herself, with Boutella's screen time paling in comparison to her co-star Tom Cruise.
Everybody's been telling me this morning how scared they were, and it made me so happy.
The Mummy's negative reviews and poor box office numbers left the future of the Dark Universe in doubt, but for all the bad press, Boutella's dedication to the project was never in doubt. In fact, the Algerian actress just so happened to be a huge fan of Universal's classic monster movies growing up. She told The Independent, "If you look at the original ones, they're interesting, profound metaphors. Before The Mummy, Butella was a backup dancer for Madonna and Rihanna, and she has appeared in other films such as Kingsman, The Secret Service, and Atomic Blonde. Man Mountain Ken Kersinger once played college football for the University of British Columbia, but he decided to get into stunt work after suffering a bad knee injury. He secretly hoped his stunt performances would lead to him being discovered, but he had no idea his very modest involvement in the Friday the 13th franchise would cause such a ruckus. The actor has admitted that his favorite role is horror icon Jason Voorhees. He first donned the hockey mask in 1989's Jason Takes Manhattan as a stunt double and also appeared in that film as one of Jason's victims. He banked his stuntman checks and forgot all about the character until he was offered the chance to play him for real.
As far as being afraid of it, I mean, you got to remember I'm a stuntman, so I'm used to doing stuff that's a little iffy.
When Kersinger played Jason in 2003's Freddy vs. Jason, he didn't realize it was such a big deal, but he soon became appreciative of the fan response. The face-off nature of this particular movie meant that Kersinger even got the chance to act heroic for a moment, decapitating Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger in the closing moments. A young DeVay Chase played creepy girl Samara in 2002's The Ring and appeared in 2005's The Ring 2 via archive footage. But the majorly creepy stuff in the sequel came courtesy of contortionist Bonnie Morgan. The studio initially intended to use special effects for some key Samara scenes, but the stunt coordinator was a friend of Morgan's and suggested they use her instead. Speaking of one iconic scene, Morgan told Bloody Disgusting, "The spider walk originated on my living room floor and we shot some footage of it, and the director could not have been more excited with the result." The work Morgan did on The Ring 2 led to her getting the part full-time when an unexpected sequel was greenlit years later. A decade had passed since the last movie, and Morgan had almost given up any hope of reprising the role, but she was back at her bendy best in 2017's Rings.
41, 42, 43, 44, contact lenses, and the wig. 45 appliances, but who's counting, right?
He had 0 lines, but Paul T. Taylor was still thrilled to make his big screen debut in Robert Rodriguez's neo-noir classic Sin City in 2005. One day he received a script simply titled Judgment. As a Hellraiser fan, he saw through the ruse. From the first line, Taylor knew that this was a Hellraiser movie. He ended up being offered the role of Pinhead after the legendary Doug Bradley refused to reprise the role. Sherry Moon Zombie and her husband Rob Zombie have collaborated on a handful of horror movies over the years, the first of which was 2003's House of a Thousand Corpses. This shameless throwback to the exploitation films of the 1970s was truly disturbing, and Sherry Moon stole the show as the crazed baby Firefly. She reprised the role in 2005's The Devil's Rejects. This disturbing sequel places Baby right at the center of the carnage. Zombie was essentially playing a psychotic version of herself, so there wasn't much of a physical transformation needed. But that wasn't the case when the married couple worked together again on 2012's Lords of Salem. Zombie stars as a recovering drug addict who falls in league with the devil after becoming involved with a coven of witches. For the role, she agreed to have her hair in dreadlocks and sit through the application of several fake tattoos, not to mention some intricate face paint.
There was only one actor that had a nervous breakdown when new pages arrived.
Right.
Me?
No, well, yes, you.
Jeepers Creepers 3 was released in 2017, more than a decade after the first two. It took place between the events of the first two films, with Jonathan Breck returning to play the villainous Creeper. The original Jeepers Creepers divided critical opinion upon release, but quickly gained a cult following, with the Creeper catching the imagination of horror fans. According to the man underneath the makeup, his entire transformation takes between 3 and 5 hours. The only parts of himself that he can see when he looks in the mirror during the makeup application are his eyes, but he's far from uncomfortable in the Creeper getup.
It's really great to watch the process. It's a layering process. By the time they're done, I am somebody else.
Breck's physical dedication to the role goes beyond sitting in the makeup chair, as he revealed to IGN that he did a lot of his own stunt work on Jeepers Creepers 3 to save money.
But when I look in the mirror, I've got it, I'm bulked up, 3 times the size that I normally am. You just feel like there's nothing you can't do,
The creepy thriller It managed to scare millions of moviegoers, due in great part to the portrayal of the murderous and nightmarish clown Pennywise. But this being Hollywood, Bill Skarsgård, the actor behind all the scary clown makeup, is actually really gorgeous, and way more famous than you might have originally thought. Bill's father is the legendary Swedish actor Stellan Skarsgård, and 4 of his siblings are also actors, including his big brother Alexander, who had a major role on True Blood and was most recently nominated for an Emmy for Big Little Lies. Because his father was such a famous actor in Sweden, Skarsgård said it opened doors for bullies at school to pick on him and accuse him of being privileged. But who's laughing now? Sure, his famous family name might have made things difficult in the schoolyard, but growing up with a family of actors obviously had plenty of benefits too. In fact, during a September 2017 interview on Conan, Skarsgård revealed that he was able to come up with Pennywise's scary smile with the help of his brother Gustav.
He had this ability to do, point his lip in a very strange way.
Do you mind, just for that camera right there, the
Number three.
Yeah, there we go.
Prior to it, arguably his most memorable role was in the short-lived Netflix series Hemlock Grove, playing Roman Godfrey.
Shut up and kiss me.
Skarsgård is in films ranging from 2012's Anna Karenina to the 2016 dystopian teen thriller Allegiant to the 2017 summer blockbuster Atomic Blonde. Landing the role of Pennywise involved auditioning in full clown makeup, but Skarsgård couldn't effectively apply all that makeup himself on site, so he had his girlfriend help him, and then he had to drive through Hollywood in full clown face.
You get into this safe bubble of being in your own car, in clown face, and I'm like, here it is.
And if you thought Skarsgård's performance looked terrifying on the big screen, try actually being in the room where it happened. In a June 2017 chat with Interview, the actor admitted the intensity of his character's look and performance proved to be so terrifying that some of the child extras actually cried on set. Of course, Skarsgård is not the first actor to play Pennywise on the big screen. The iconic Tim Curry played the evil clown in the 1990 miniseries of the same name. Naturally, Skarsgård had Curry's performance on his mind when he stepped into the same role. He told Out magazine in September 2017, "I had a few sleepless nights and these really terrifying feelings of anxiety where I was like, holy I'm taking on this iconic character. What if I can't pull it off?" We're guessing Skarsgård is sleeping very soundly these days.
Even before she really did anything, you could tell the nun was bad news. Played by actress Bonnie Aarons, the demonic entity from the Conjuring film universe has proven so effective that it received its own spin-off movie, The Nun, in 2018. The Nun is only one of the many faces used by the demon from the series known as Valak, but the most memorable is the habit-wearing specter that Aarons so capably portrays. But Aarons herself is much more gorgeous and approachable than the monstrous face she's famous for. Let's break down the life and works of the actress who plays the nun. As one of the entities that connects the separate stories of the Conjuring franchise, the nun is even more recognizable than some of the series' human characters. Before getting her own movie, Aarons played the character in Annabelle, Creation, and The Conjuring 2. After 3 turns in the role, Aarons and her demonic nun have arguably become the Conjuring series' own version of Freddy Krueger. Corin Hardy, director of The Nun, said he never considered recasting the role of the demon sister when it came time for the villain's turn in the spotlight. The movies of the Conjuring universe aren't the first horror films to use Aarons' striking facial features to great effect. She's also appeared in the Lindsay Lohan-starring thriller I Know Who Killed Me, the Sam Raimi-directed horror movie Drag Me to Hell, and the 2010 horror comedy Dahmer vs. Gacy, usually playing intimidating and imposing characters. But before all that, Aarons played a key part of one of the scariest scenes in movie history. In 2001, she appeared in David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, a nightmarish modern-day masterpiece. One infamous scene about a monstrous entity behind a diner is a sequence of pure horror, and Aarons is the focus. It's hard to recognize Aarons as her enigmatic character, the bum, beneath all the intricate layers of grime, a look which required hours in the makeup chair. On paper, her scene doesn't sound that scary. She just pops out from behind a wall and smiles. But it's an effective scare in context. Aarons didn't know her part in the movie was supposed to be frightening until she saw the film, but when she did, she says she even scared herself. With The Nun, Aarons and her work have become increasingly associated with the horror genre. Fortunately, it's a genre she appreciates.
Horror films are really good for people's health. You get an adrenaline rush. I've had lots of people tell me that, with depression, that it gets them out of depression.
The Nun's director, Corin Hardy, has confirmed that Aarons loves both horror movies and being a part of them to scare people. He says that Aarons relishes playing evil and would spend time in between takes scaring Taissa Farmiga, her co-star, who doesn't enjoy horror movies nearly as much. Aarons' passion seems to come through in her performance. Her demon nun isn't just evil. She's evil and she's loving it. Working as a professional entertainer can be a savage experience for anyone who even slightly deviates from the industry's standards of beauty, and Aarons has had to contend with her share of adversity. During the early years of her career, she said she was sometimes encouraged to find another line of work, but Aarons' distinctive features have helped her land high-profile work. Speaking in an interview with Vulture, she said that David Lynch cast her in Mulholland Drive after looking for the most incredible face he could find, and brought her into the movie without requiring an audition. The Nun's director also agrees that Aarons' looks are a valuable asset. In a talk with Daily Dead, Hardy praised Aarons for her unique presence and cinematic face, which he described as a strikingly beautiful classic Hollywood look.
British actress Naomi Harris made her exciting debut as Dalma in 2006's Dead Man's Chest. But the story of her life pre-Pirates is equally as interesting. From her humble beginnings to her arrival in Hollywood, here's a look at the life and career of the real Tia Dalma, the stunning Naomi Harris. Early on in Harris's life, it became clear that she had a talent for writing as well as performing. By the time she was 13, she had completed an entire novel, a fish-out-of-water story inspired by her upbringing in one of London's less desirable neighborhoods. As Harris told The Guardian, it was about a middle-class girl whose parents get taken ill, and she has to go and live on a council estate with her aunt. It was about the escapade she gets into and the culture shock, being from a very middle-class background and ending up on a council estate. Naomi Harris made her TV debut at the age of 9, but didn't come to the attention of wider audiences until her mid-20s. In 2002, she starred as Clara in the British miniseries White Teeth, which was well received on both sides of the Atlantic. She seemed completely at ease with the source material, partly because she went to school with the woman who wrote it. The novel upon which the show was based was penned by Zadie Smith, who started at Cambridge University the same year as Harris. In an interview with The Telegraph, Harris said, "She was cool. I was nerdy." Naomi Harris marked herself out with her performance in White Teeth, showcasing raw talent that director Danny Boyle was eager to refine. In 2002, Harris put in a star turn opposite Cillian Murphy in Boyle's gritty London-set zombie apocalypse flick, 28 Days Later. Harris told Digital Spy, "He really started my career for me. I'm very grateful to Danny Boyle." Harris debuted her version of the iconic Miss Moneypenny in 2012's Skyfall, the 23rd film in the James Bond franchise. Speaking to The Telegraph, she explained how she helped redefine the Bond girl. The actress revealed how she'd been asked to present an award at the BAFTAs, though she took issue with what she was asked to read. Harris was expected to refer to herself as a Bond girl, which wasn't going to fly, so she decided to change it to Bondwoman.
I've got some new information.
2017 was a huge year for Harris, whose performance as drug addict Paula in the Oscar-winning Moonlight ensured she was kept busy over award season. She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars, Golden Globes, and the BAFTAs. And while she didn't end up winning, just having a seat at the table meant everyone now knew her name. Amazingly, Harris almost passed on the critically acclaimed role because Paula's world was just so far removed from her own. Her performance is all the more amazing when you consider the fact that she's practically teetotal in real life. Harris told RogerEbert.com, "I'm someone who's very clean living. I don't drink, I don't smoke." She may have lost out on the highest honor in Hollywood when Viola Davis beat her to the Oscar podium in 2017, but Naomi Harris was honored by her country for services to drama that same year when the Queen personally made her an Officer of the Order of the British Empire. Speaking to the BBC, Harris explained why the award was so important to her. "As a Black actress from the background I came from, I think it's incredibly important. I'm absolutely thrilled to have my work recognized in this way."